All right. So with Mr. T, we did have to go out for a little potty break. So we did a really good job, went right to the restroom. Good job, sir. So back on to working with your beauties. I would highly recommend to keep the session short and sweet. You take a little breather, and then make sure that sometimes you're rotating through a few different skills. That can sometimes be nice because it gives your babes little breathers to rotate through different movements or different skill sets, and it makes the training feel a lot less stagnant. If we only did puppy push-ups for 5 to 10 minutes, that would be really tedious, and your babe might get more flustered, which could be where their mouths turn into like little alligators. So, so sorry about the tickle of doom. I'm gonna grab a quick drink. So the next skill we're gonna work on is we're gonna do a little bit with the toy exchange game, which is one that I've recommended for a lot of my puppy students, but also even adult dogs. He says he's ready. So I'm gonna grab a few toys for the handsome guy. Sorry, I'm out of range. And grab a few more. So with the toy exchange game, what you're gonna be doing is you're gonna have toys and items that your babe is allowed to have. This is not gonna be, for example, leave-its. So leave-its would be things that are always off limits. So leave-its would be, let's say, for example, your socks, shoes, maybe household items like your furniture. So leave-its would be things like your woodwork that would be off limits and that we don't want to engage with or play with. So I'm gonna have a few toys up here too, because we have some that are on longer leads, sort of, so it's more of a tuggy toy. So let's say, for example, your babe is still working on taking and dropping items they're allowed to have, let alone letting go of items they shouldn't have. So the benefit of working take it and drop it and the toy exchange game, if he doesn't rock it today, not the end of the world. I can maybe try it with one of the other smaller beauties who might be more toy driven. I know Mr. W is a huge toy guy. So this is a great way to prevent gulping, but also resource guarding as well. Remember that the way we tend to take items from our puppies is normally things that we have deemed scary or dangerous, and we're constantly swiping things from the babes. So your puppy goes to grab a tissue and you instantly chase them, and then maybe now they're playing keep away, which they find really appealing. But on top of that, you are now creating a lot of conflict because when you finally go and catch your puppy, they may get overwhelmed or scared, and then you're taking the thing from them. So we become very confrontational. Of course, Mr. Handsome is not going for my items, which is not the end of the world. I might try a little bit with a longer item. So let's say, for example, the reason I recommend toys that come on a lead or that you could make one. So this is just an old little dog bone plushie toy that kind of looks like a butterfly when it's tied on to the old leash. But the benefit of this is as your puppy is playing with something, you can make it come alive and you become part of the game. So I know with Mr. W, we were doing a little bit of this too with our take it and drop it and building up sort of that on-off switch. So the benefit of rotation through multiple toys or toys and food or vice versa, hello there, is that you are able to practice having your puppy learn that letting go is fun. It's non-confrontational. It doesn't always equal the game is over. So the problem with not being able to let go of things you can have is how are you going to let go of things that you shouldn't have? So that's the benefit of practicing the how-to skill before you need it in the real world situation. So let's say he's playing with this one. I might go, ready, find it. It's right here, sir. He's like, I did not see the food. There we go. So the benefit of going and feeding for letting go is that we're building up this association that letting go had a paycheck. Then we might go, are you ready? And we can go back into some more play. And I hope I don't have to sneeze, but I feel like it could be coming. And right there, the toy is alive. The benefit of doing either food as an exchange or toys is, let's say your puppy's playing with one toy. So let's say he gets that toy, awesome, and he's playing with it. Now, I love how he doesn't even notice his food over here. Then I might go make Mr. Raccoon come alive and then get him to go from one toy to another. So the benefit of this is, of course, being a retriever. He likes to put everything into his mouth, even things we have deemed not okay or not safe, but he doesn't understand that. So from his perspective, we're either safe or unsafe. And when we are, for example, getting confrontational or becoming the end of fun, from his perspective, it becomes more unsafe. So you're not actually teaching your puppy to let go of something because they're in trouble. You're teaching them when you're nearby and they have something, you might make it scary. So let's say again, we're gonna make this toy come alive. Ready? Get that toy. So now the toy is alive, we're playing, what a nice job. Then I might go and rotate this one. Yeah, go get it. So now he can now practice. We were playing with the rope toy, no big deal. Now we switched to the raccoon and he was able to disengage from one versus the other. So remember that the value here is creating this ability to go from one thing to another, and that letting go does not mean that it's the end of the game. Ready? Go get that bad boy. Gorgeous. Two, if your puppy is a bit of a land shark, which a lot of them are at this point, you can also play with multiple toys that have longer tethers. So this was a little bit of a stick back in the day, but it's seen better days. Woo! And it broke. So it's just like my teeny weeny baby flirt pole, I call it. So, but it works really well for littles, or when you're working on the move and you want to have something that, oh, good job, is something that's easy to be travel sort of sized. So sometimes a toy on a long lead can be really nice because you could put it in a pocket and you could use that for play. Because if your puppy is sometimes going for the inappropriate item, be it the leash, be it the leaves, the sticks, having toys to redirect onto could be a great way to let your puppy have an outlet, but an appropriate one. So if I gave my little one back in the day crayons, but I didn't give her a piece of paper or a coloring book, she probably would have just started coloring anywhere with the crayon. So is she wrong for coloring? No. But do we like it on the walls? Maybe not so much. So what I'd recommend, just like with him, natural doggy behaviors, mouthing, biting, taking and tugging on things. These are all very normal puppy and dog behaviors. But how could we take this normal behavior and then redirect it to the appropriate item versus your toddler, versus your cat, versus your walls or your furniture? So a lot of puppies and dogs that don't have their needs being met, a lot of times they run into what we consider more behavioral problems, but those typically tend to be normal dog responses to stress or boredom that have now been accelerated or sort of exaggerated because there has been no actual outlet for them. So even though it is nice to have a few dog toys out, remember that your babe is also looking for engagement sometimes with you and the environment. So make sure that you're part of the equation too, not just like, on the back burner. So again, this toy's alive. He caught it. Nice. Then we might move on to another little one. So as he's playing, the toy could come alive. And let's say he doesn't quite know what a drop it is yet. What I like to do is go right into, ready, Tucker, a little kissy noise, right into a little find it. So letting go has value. So right now, he maybe doesn't quite grasp the drop, give, or out. We wouldn't say leave it again because leave it's are going to be for off-limits items, so dangerous things. You're going to go ready, go get it. And now our toy is alive. He's like, where'd it go? And he can go ahead and grab that bad boy and do some tugging and some playing. Nice. You can see how none of these items have gone away as we practice letting go. I've also been feeding him for relinquishing things and letting go of them. So that way there's value in sort of taking it out of your mouth. Ready? Tucker. Drop. Yes. So if you're going to include a little bit with drop or give or out, I'd make it where when he releases the item, feed there. You could also either food on the floor if that's easier, or food to his little sniffer and then feed for when he lets go. So again, now the toy is alive. Ready? Go get it. He says, I got it. The handle's also nice. We can flop. I don't mind. You can have either end. So let's say, again, he's playing. Some puppies actually prefer just the nylon versus the critter, but we'll see. He's also getting tired. So we may not get as much out of him all the time, and that's okay because he's just a baby. He's like, lady, I don't even know how to walk, let alone run with a toy. Nice. So right here, we might go, ready? Oh, smart man. So if he catches on, like where you go to reach, some of the puppies, they're not dummies, of course. He's like, oh, itchy. So you may have moments where you don't realize it, but they're very visual. So when you go to reach, he all of a sudden spits out the thing. Not a bad thing, but I'd almost start to, before you reach or have an item preemptively ready, go into doing a little bit where you might say the cue word, which could be the release item, the release word, which could be drop it, give, or out. And then from there, see if when you're ready, you could get him to do that letting go and then have your food ready for when he does relinquish the thing. Good job, Mr. T. So, but what I would recommend for the toy exchange game, have a few different varieties of items and go from there. I know for Mr. W, we did a little bit with that treat and retreat. I'm just going to grab a higher value item just for a second for him. So it's just a little bit of a leftover little smoked bone piece. So he's like, that sounds delicious. So I'm just gonna squish a little treat into it. And again, I'm so sorry about my tickly throat. But for right now, let's say again your puppy is enjoying something they're allowed to have. This doesn't mean that going and grabbing it from them is going to make him feel good about giving it up. So I would recommend to rotate through different chews, different items, build in value with the treat and retreat game, which is where he's enjoying a chew and you toss a few snacks at him and you walk away. So that way he finds that there's value in you approaching when he has a chew or lick item. Just do a little find it for fun for him. What a smart boy. But then let's say he's been doing a really good job with some of these items. Then you could try with a household item that is safe to do so, and work it where, oh no, I dropped my washcloth, and he goes and grabs it, as opposed to squealing. See if you've been practicing with some of these where you rotate through toys, you do find it. You might go from pretend one of these items is the no item for a moment, like a sock, even though it's a dog toy, and you could go right into his name and then into a find it. So if, let's say, for example, like let's pretend Mr. Raccoon is a sock, which I know it's not, but ready? Tucker says, hold on, this fencing over here smells amazing. He's too cute. I know the fencing has maybe been peed on once or twice. Ready? So if I lose him, nice. Notice how I don't say his name over and over. I would go and help my puppy be successful. Ready? So I'm going to try and get his interest in my little raccoon friend. What do you think? He's like, this is so silly. Yeah, you go get that guy. So let's pretend that's my sock that my puppy has, and I don't want him to have it. As opposed to chasing him for the item, Tucker, ready? Oh, he's like, good, I found my bone. I would go into a lovely little find it, and then that would get him to relinquish the item because he wants to consume his snacks. And then at that point, you could go from there and to create more distance between him and the sock. Ready? Tucker. You go into a little find it off to the side, and then let's pretend this was my sock. I could then nonchalantly take it away and move it out of range so it's no longer a dangerous setup for him. If though, again, you are finding that you're constantly saying, no, drop it out, give, whatever the slogan, and you're squealing in the background, it probably means that the environment that you're setting up is too difficult for your puppy to be successful. So imagine you didn't know how to drive a car and I don't instruct you at all. I just put you in a car and we go on the highway. We may not have the greatest car experience and we may not make it. So ready, we'll do another little find it for Mr. T. So if you're really finding, Mr. Z says, sad song, come get me, he says, I want to play again. So you guys may find for Mr. T is remember that whatever he's rehearsing, he's getting good at. So if we don't love him swiping things, we may need to, for now, puppy-proof that zone or keep him on a leash. Or, for example, give him chews or outlets that he finds appealing in those bubbles so he has something to color on versus the wall. So remember that a lot of times puppy behavior is completely normal. It's just when it's out of context in our human world, it tends to be problematic for us and at times for them. So I would highly recommend rotate through your toys, rotate through some chews, practice getting him to grab things and let go of things he should have. So then that way, nice sitting, sir. So that way, if he were to grab something he shouldn't, like your hat or a shoe or a slipper, he can then learn that when he has something, you could do a quick little disengagement with some find it, and then he lets go of it, doesn't create conflict, and you can move it out of range again for him. But make sure that throughout the day, he is growing into the skills you'd like him to master. Excuse me. So if he is getting good at grabbing things and then trying to consume them, that will be a behavior that more than likely he's going to do into adulthood. So I would recommend, remember, puppies don't grow out of behavior, they tend to grow into it. So if there's things you're not loving, even though it could be normal dog behavior, make sure that what you're doing for outlets are the ones you'd like him to get much better at for down the road. But Mr. T did such a good job. He's doing great with his house training, which I know you guys said was not really an issue, which is good. But he went right to, oh my goodness, chewing. He went right to the door and went right out for a potty break and came right back in for another little round. My goodness, sir, chewing is optional. All of them chewing and walking and thinking all at the same time is really hard, so don't worry. But we'll give Mr. T a little break and then we'll rotate through some more of our friends. But good job, sir. We'll do another little find it and we'll give Mr. T a little breather from his practice. What a brilliant boy.